great. I gotta make a little joke, that's just the way I am. So, with that being said, personally, Father, we thank you, Lord. We thank you for this time of worship, this time of fellowship, this time to sing your praises. We just thank you for the testimonies, for the songs that you were sung, the song by David, Jesus. I just pray for a blessing over him, a double portion, Lord God, that you continue to use him to do the songs that you have called him. We thank you for Jonathan for coming forth and taking a step of faith and obedience to say what you have done in his life. That was an amazing testimony, amazing time of worship. I just pray that as we go forth that we are the potter's, you are the potter's hands, and you are going to lead us, and you are going to guide us, and you are going to show us the wisdom. I pray as I come forth with your message today, that you hide me behind the cross, Lord. Allow every single word that comes out of my mouth be from you. Anything that comes out of my mouth is not from me. I just hide that all aside. Allow me to preach your word. Allow the hearts to hear it, the minds to understand it, the ears to hold it in and retain it, Lord God. I just pray over this day that it would just magnify you. And we all pray this in precious holy name. We all said, Amen. Amen. Are we live?
You are. Stop going over there.
Okay, we're live. I said stop going over there. So, this is going to be interesting. I got a very problem trying to keep my mic up. Good morning, Abundant Life Church of God. People on there, say hi to everybody. So we are all here in one agreement. So, like I was saying earlier, that one of the biggest things that my messages have been on so far for a couple of weeks now is about trust. One of the biggest things is we need to trust the Lord in whatever is going on. With all this destruction, all this chaos, it's not going to end. It really isn't. The Bible is very clear. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
And
Yep.
unfortunately, I hate to say this, but what's going on out there is just going to get worse. But that does not stop us from doing what we're called to do.
Amen.
Okay? Just because there is chaos going on, that does not give us a right to take a step back and not be the church. We got to take a step forward and be the church. Okay? We got to do it with wisdom. We got to do it with the Lord guiding us and leading us. We can't go into a battlefield not prepared. Okay? So, we need to trust that the Lord is going to do that for us. That's not part of my message today. That's just a PSA for you guys. So, you guys can hear me still? Good? So, all right, I'm going to start off with Genesis 22, 1 through 10. Okay? And that, after all this, God tested Abraham. And God is talking to us right now through the phone. God tested Abraham. God said, Abraham. Yes, answered Abraham. I'm listening. He said, take your dear son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I'll point out to you. First and foremost, right there, God spoke to Abraham clearly. And their response was, yes. It wasn't, hold on. It wasn't, in a minute. I know as raising kids, it's one of those things I'm going to throw them under the bus and they're not going to be liking it. But I tell them, hey, come here. In a minute. Excuse me? In a minute. Well, yeah, I got to finish doing what I got to do. No, I'm your father. When I say come, that means come.
Amen.
Okay? That's not saying, I'm going to rule over you with the iron fist and you got to listen to what I'm saying. It's not. When the Lord tells you something, your response is yes. When God says something, it's not, hold on, God, hold on. Just a minute. I got to finish playing Call of Duty. I'll be back in about 5 minutes for you. Okay? Put that on hold. I'll put you on the answer machine. The answer is yes. Okay? Abraham got up early in the morning and he saddled up his donkey. He took 2 of his young servants and his son Isaac. He didn't wait. He didn't wait for the next week. He didn't do it on his time. He did it early in the morning. He had split wood for burnt offering. He set out for the place God had directed him. On the 3rd day, he looked up and saw the place in the distance. Abraham told his 2 young servants, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I are going over to worship. Then we will come back to you." Key thing right there. The boy and I are going there to worship, then we'll come back to you. He already knew God was going to move. He already knew. God told him to take his son Isaac up to the mountain for a sacrifice. Correct? His words were, "We will come back." That right there is trust. That right there is faith that knows that God is still going to do something crazy. He doesn't know what it is yet. He doesn't know what's going to happen. But when you tell somebody, "We will be right back," it's a little bit of faith. Question is, do you guys have that kind of faith? To sit there and say, "Okay, now mind you, Isaac was his son. Yes, he had a son before, but that was through another woman. But this is the one that God said you are going to have many children with. This is your son. Now go and take him and sacrifice him." Would you take your kid and sacrifice him?
If the Lord demanded me to.
The Lord demanded you. I'm telling you one thing. It's very hard to say yes.
Yeah.
It's so hard to sit there and say, "Yeah, I'll do that." Because how many times in our lives, how many times do we sit there and God gives us a simple task? We're not talking about sacrifice. We're talking simple. Hey, go to the grocery store and pay for that woman's bill. I know you only have $50 in your account, and her bill is going to come up to $40, and your bill is $10, so I'm going to tell you to drain out your account right now and pay for everything that she has. $10, $40 are going to feed my family tonight, so I got to go to McDonald's, and that's going to cost 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, that's going to cost about $40. Oh, jeez. Simple task. God telling you to do something and you're not doing it. Okay? Instead of sitting there saying, "Okay, you know what? Here's my $50, throw it down on the table." God's going to provide. Because I can guarantee you the time you go to McDonald's, and it has happened to us. Oh, guess what? That person paid for you, him, and him. Wow. Praise God. Give you everything, and God gives you more. A simple act of obedience. We all can sit there and say that, yes, we would take our only child. We would take our only person, or even a couple family members. And now I'm not telling you not to go up to a mountain and ask God to sacrifice a kid. We can't do that. That's against the law. PSA, we cannot do that no more. Okay? So please don't sit there and say, "Well, Pastor Greg said I could." Please. But honestly, simple act to trust in what the Lord is telling us to do. But we're not doing it. On a daily basis, we have a hard time with the simple things when God wants to do something bigger. Okay? So, let's see here. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and gave it to Isaac his son to carry. He carried the flint and the knife. The two of them went off together. Isaac said to Abraham his father, "Father?" "Yes, my son." We have flint and wood, but where's the sheep for the burnt offering? Let me put it in more modern times. Yo, Dad, what up? We got this, we got that. We're missing a third element. What third element? Well, we need something to do to make the burnt offering, dude. Don't worry. Now, if you were the child, this is not a child like Lacey, right? Probably a little bit older, like 13, 14 years of age. Let me ask you a question. If you went up to the hill with your father, and your father's like, we're going to have the burnt offering. We're going to do something really crazy, son. I got the flint, I got the knife. Now let's go. Who would run from their father? I'll be on the phone 911. Dude, my dad's crazy, bro. Come get him. This guy has lost his marbles. Okay? First off, his son had a little bit of trust in his father. Okay? Not just in God, I'm talking the father to his son. The actual people on earth. There was trust there. Trust to sit there and say, no, my dad is a little crazy. I think he's been watching too much CSI or something. Too much time on the TV. But he knows something that I don't know. Obviously, God knows something that you don't know. Okay? So, Abraham said, son, God will see it that there is a sheep for the burnt offering. And they kept on walking. God will provide. He will make a way out. They arrived at the place to which God had directed him. Abraham built an altar. He laid out the wood. Then he tied up Isaac and laid him on the wood. Abraham reached out and took the knife to kill his son. Can we say trust? It didn't say anything about Abraham beat his son unconscious, right? Does it say that, right? Does it say that? No. He listened to his father. He listened. He's like, you know what? Yeah, we don't have this, we don't have that, but God will provide. God is going to make a way. I have to trust and believe that my father is going to believe that God is going to do something. Abraham sat there and knew for everything he knew that if he sacrificed his son died on that altar, that God would raise him from the dead. He knew that. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a thought. Oh, well, Lord, you know, I trust you with my life. I tell you that all the time. I trust you with my finances. I trust you with the little things that I do in life. I trust you with the people that you place into my heart. But what you're asking me to do is something that is far beyond what I can do. What you're asking me to do is something that's so far that I can't do this. How many people are running? How many people are sitting there running from what God's called you to do? How many people are sitting there not allowing God to move a mountain that is in their life? The thing is that he sat there and his son willingly allowed his father to tie him up and put him on the altar. Willingly. No questions asked. We need to have that type of trust in, number one, our spiritual leaders. You got to have that kind of trust with people around us. When things don't make sense, I'm telling you, if there is something in your life, there is something that does not make sense. There was a person that went into a store. He was praying to God. He's like, I need to do something. I need to do something. So God told him to take his Bible literally take his Bible, throw it up in the air, and allow it to hit the floor. Something so, this right here, a lot of the times, people get really upset if you place the Bible on the floor. Okay, this is what people say. That this is very sacred. You're not supposed to just put it on the floor, you're not supposed to do something. But God told him to do something very straight. Take his Bible, go into a store, take it, throw it up as high as it can, and let it drop on the floor. The guy was so obedient. He knew that this word to him, this Bible meant a lot. Now he doesn't want to just throw it around like ragdoll. But he listened to what God said. And let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you what happened. As soon as he went into that store, he threw that Bible up in the air. He smacked on the floor like that. Guy started weeping. Next guy over. The reason why he was weeping is because that night he was going to end his life. And he said, if God, if you are real, you're going to send somebody into this building. And that person's going to take his Bible, he's going to throw it up in the air, and he's going to hit the floor.
Amen.
Tell me that. Tell me something, guys. Come on. God is telling you to do something so crazy, so unreal. He told me to come here, to be a pastor of this church. Something so unseen, something so unreal, something I can't grasp at the time. Out of my comfort zone, out of my box. But I gotta trust in what God is telling me to do. I gotta trust that if God tells me to throw this Bible, He's going to tell me to throw this Bible and somebody's going to get healed. There was a pastor many years ago, he was so unorthodox, he was so crazy, that God sat there and he was healing people. He was healing dead people. He would take them and throw them in the wall. Throw them right up against the wall. Come alive just like that. Trust. God is telling you to do something. What are you holding on to? What are you holding back from? It says in Proverbs 3:5-6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Everything. Everything that is in your heart. Not just a little spot. Not just the left side. Not just the right side. Everything. Trusting the Lord. Lean not on your own understandings. Because your understandings is taking this Bible and throwing it up in the air and just letting it hit the floor. Not knowing what God is going to do on the other side of that. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path. All your ways. He's not asking just for a small part of you. He's not asking just for the smallest inkling of you. He's asking for everything. We can sit here all day long. We can give everything to this. We can sit there in front of this all day long. Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, the list can go on. We put all our trust into this. But we're not putting that trust into God. We're not sitting there allowing God to speak to us. We got to listen to what God is telling us. If God told us to go up to the top of the mountain with our son, with our kid, and God had said, do this, then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? If God sat there and said, this land that's right here, we're going to build a 30-foot hole by 30 feet that way and fill it with water, and we're just going to let it be. We're not going to open it up as a pool. We're not going to say it's anything like that. We're just going to dig a hole. We're going to fill it with water, and we're just going to leave it. My question is who's grabbing the first pickaxe? Who's going to grab the first rake? Who's going to grab the first shovel? If God told us that's all we need to do is fill up that pool, and then 10 days later fill it up with dirt, what are we going to do? Are we going to just allow it to be like, well, geez, it's a lot of water, it's a lot of manpower, I don't think we have it. I'm telling you one thing, if God tells you to do it, you do it. Plain and simple. You grab that rake, you grab that shovel, and you just start digging. Because God will allow it to happen. If God can sit there and turn back the time just for one person, just for a little bit of time, pretty sure God's going to do something crazy with that little thing. Even if it was just a bird bath for 100 birds to come in and just swim around. Who knows what God has plans for it? Our own understanding is it's a giant hole with the water in it now, thanks. I just spent about 40 days trying to dig that thing just to fill it back up. Thank you, Lord, but we don't realize what God is really doing. We don't see, all we see is that Bible being thrown up in the air. So all we see is this, going up. Our own understanding, our own mind, really can't grasp what God is going to do. We can't see past our own selves, which is a good thing. Because if I could see past my own understanding, if I could see past what I'm doing right now, I would be in so much trouble. With her, with you guys, especially with her. God always going to give you what He wants you to see for that moment. He's got something crazier. He's got something greater. But we have to trust. We have to sit there. An old saying, let go and let God. Let go. Trust Him. God's telling you to do something crazy. There's a good reason for it. There is an absolute good reason for it. I have to trust God that I come up here and I'm preaching His word every single day because it's not me. This is not me. Isaiah 48:1-10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. I will strengthen you. I will help you. Do you realize that me being up here, I am going to fail you? Pastor's going to fail. He can't do that. I am human. I am going to fail. Put it out there. Mark it down. So that way when it happens, you're not kind of taken off guard. I am human. But guess who will never fail you? Jesus. Guess who will never leave you? Guess who will never forsake you? The one person that, through everything that's going on in life, has got your back. The one person that no matter what crazy thing goes on, has got your back. Lean on to that. Through this world right now we're going through, and I'm going to harp on it, it's a hard issue. It's not a race, it's not anything else, it's a hard issue. This is going to be around for quite some time. And you know what? God is going to call you guys to do something that is so out of your box during this time that the church is going to grow. But it's going to start with you guys. And it's going to start with revival in your heart. Revival in this church. Revival in, not this church. I'm not pointing fingers at this church. I'm talking the church in general. Okay? Because every time I point one at you, I got 3 more coming back at me. That makes sense? Kind of brought a little light to it, huh? Every time I point one at you guys, I got 3 coming back at me. But through all this chaos, all this turmoil, all this hard times, we cannot lose hope. We cannot lose the trust that the Lord has. Okay? He is going to ask us to do something. Now, I stopped it at Genesis 22, 1 through 10. I stopped it right there. Let me take this really quickly, because I want to tell you that there's always a way out. God will provide. God will provide something else. I didn't put this on the bulletin, the overhead. Or actually, I shouldn't say me, it was Michael, because Michael's awesome. Michael's the man. Where am I? Let's see here. Alright, 11, here we go. Small print, and I can read it. But the angel of the Lord called to him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. The angel of the Lord came out of heaven. As he was sitting there about to sacrifice his son, it wasn't like, all right, we're up here, we're just going to wait around, we're just going to sing Kumbaya, we're just going to just stay here. He had his knife. It was ready to come down. All that was waiting was this. He was up here. He was about to. It wasn't just a waiting game. He wasn't just sitting there. He didn't bring up his son. He just said, hey, son, God's not listening. God won't understand it. It's a secret between you and I. Don't worry. Play a game on God. It was this. That's how much trust he had in the Lord. The question is, how much trust do you have in the Lord? To sit there and just about ready to do this, angel of the Lord called to him out of heaven, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here am I. Again, God called on to him. It wasn't a, hold on, I got to finish this task right here. Hold on, I got to do this one thing. Call and response. I'm telling you one thing, if my wife calls on me and I don't answer her, the wrath of heaven comes down. Call and response. Hey, Greg, yes, babe. Okay? Call and response. Silly to think about it, but I want you to really think about it. Think about that. The first time he sat there, he said, Abraham, Abraham. And the answer, Abraham answered, I am listening. If somebody sat there and said, Lacey, her response is, yes, Dad. It isn't, look at those pretty flowers. Call and response. As he was coming down, as we were about ready to do this, Abraham, Abraham, here am I. I'm here. I'm listening. What do you got? Call and response. Just like that. Listening to what God has for you. Trusting that God is going to do something. Then he said, do not lay your hands on the boy or do anything to him, because I know that you fear God. Seeing you have not withheld your only son from me. Now we're not talking about a fear. We're not talking about a fear that's debilitating, that is like, I'm going to run and hide because there's thunder and lightning. We're not talking about that type of fear. We're talking about reverence fear. That's my father. If he says something to do, I'm going to do it. Reverence. Not debilitating. I'm not saying that my father's going to come down here and beat me with an inch of my life because I did something silly. It's called reverence. That's the type of fear. And what did God do? What did God do? When he sat there, he knew that Abraham was going to go do this, do this, do this. It was a process. Every step of the way, it was a process. Throughout that process, the next morning, he slept on it. He woke up on it. He packed up on it. He moved on it. He sat there and he walked up on it. He climbed up on it. He spoke about it. He did it. He laid it down. He sat there and picked it up. It was a process. It wasn't just a, now, okay, let's do it. It was a process. The whole time, the brain could have, should have, and probably would have been thinking, can't believe God is making me do this. Slept on it. I can't believe God's going to do this. Wife wakes up, where are you taking all this stuff? God told me. Why? Don't know why. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to saddle it up. I don't have this, but okay, I'm trusting. I'm going to walk. Hey, that's where I'm going to go. Okay, I'm trusting. I'm climbing. I'm trusting. I'm laying. I'm trusting. I'm sitting there picking up the knife. I'm trusting. The whole time I'm trusting. I'm trusting. I'm trusting. I'm trusting. What is your process? When you wake up in the morning, where's your trust going? You want to play a little bit, please? If you don't mind. I don't know where you guys are. Like I said, I really don't know you from Adam. I unfortunately have not had a chance to sit down with each one of you and really understand and know where you're at. That's why when these messages come up and God places it on my heart, I have to trust that this is something that the Lord needs for somebody to hear. We need to sit there. I don't know where you guys are online. I don't know where you guys are at in your lifestyle. This is very strange. Not just to talk to you guys, but to talk to them. But when you're processing, when you're going through your sacrifice, sacrifice is something so great. Something that is so amazing. Something that is so precious. Where is your trust? Are you looking at what man can do? Can you really honestly sit there and say, I know what God is going to do? It is so easy for a human to try to take it their own way and not realize what God can do. We don't understand. We can't understand. I can't understand why I'm here doing what I'm doing. I really can't. Every day, I wake up and I'm blessed to be here. I'll be honest with you. It is a blessing. It's an honor to be called pastor of this church. I can't figure it out. But I gotta trust that God does know what's going on. As we walk through our